Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Dear students, hopefully you are doing great. As you know that we conducted 2 classes on narration, and depending on the 2 classes, this will be our last class on narration. And today we will discuss the rules of passive narration, and that's why we included the name part 3. In this class you will be able to notice the rules of passive narration. Some of the rules we already discussed in our last class. So without wasting our time, let's go to the class. So you see, when you will get repetition of verbs and you will get only one speaker, when you get same speaker and the same speaker is saying dialogues or speech for many times, like 2 times, 3 times, then the verbs will be repeated. But the same verb will not be repeated, there will be some changes. If it is assertive sentence, the verbs will be said that, added that, further added that, also said that, again said that. These are the verbs for the repetition when you will get different types of assertive sentences. And if you get interrogative sentence, the verbs will be asked, if, then further asked, more asked, again asked. Okay, so whenever you notice that there are many sentences from one speaker, then you have to use these verbs. Look at the question. He said to me, I'm not going today, I will go tomorrow. I will remain busy in my work. So here is one speaker, that is he, and there is listener, that is me. So he is saying, I'm not going today, I will go tomorrow, I will remain busy in my work. So see, within inverted commas there are 3 sentences. So what will you do? We will change. He told me that he was not going that day. So these are the changes. Okay, then again he, and we will say added that. The verb will not be told here, the verb will be added that. Okay, like other changes, he would go the next day, for tomorrow the next day. Okay, then I will remain busy in my work. So for this again you have to use he further added that he would remain busy in his work. Okay, so see, added that, further added that. So in this way you have to use the verbs. Okay, now if you get yes and no when replying, then for yes you have to use replied in the affirmative. Okay, and if you get no, you have to use replied in the negative. Let's see example. He said, yes, I came here yesterday. Okay, so what will be the answer? He replied in the affirmative that he had gone the previous day. Okay, so replied in the affirmative. Then that, then for I it will be he, for come it will be go. So it is past indefinite, so that's why it is past perfect. Yesterday, so the previous day. So if it is no, then what will you say? He replied in the negative. Okay, but Nowadays, replied in the affirmative and replied in the negative are avoided because it doesn't look good to see all the time replied in the affirmative, replied in the negative. So what will you do? For example, the teacher said to the boy, "Are you sick?" The boy replied, "No." Let's see what will be the answer. The teacher asked the boy if he was sick. The boy replied that he was not. Okay, so here what we did, the boy replied that he was not. So this change you have to make, and this change will depend on the previous sentence. What was the question? So he was, if he was sick. So in reply, what he said, he was not. Okay. Another example, someone asked him, "Did you break the glass?" He said, "No." So what will be the answer? Someone asked him if he had broken the glass. Okay. He replied that he had not broken it. Or you can say he replied that he hadn't. Or you can say he denied that he had broken it. Or he denied having done it. So these are different types of examples you can use. Okay? But the easiest one is like that. He replied that he had, just add a not broken it. So you do not have to use replied in the negative, replied in the affirmative. If it is affirmative, what will you do? He replied that he had broken it. Okay? So in this way, you have to use replied for yes or for no. Next example is when you get sir in the sentence, okay, what you have to use? You have to use respectfully or politely. In some books, you will find that for sir, many books used addressing as, but you will not use addressing as for sir, okay, because in modern English it is avoided. You have to use respectfully or politely. For example, he said to the officer, "Yes sir, I have done this." So what will you use? He replied the officer respectfully or politely that he had done that. Okay, so what we changed here? Just added respectfully or politely for sir. Okay, for yes, like the previous example, replied. Okay, and for I it will be he. For have it will be had, because present perfect will be past perfect, and for this it will be that. So it is very easy to understand. Just you have to add respectfully or politely. Okay. Now for vocatives. Vocatives means addressing someone. Okay. For vocatives, what will you use when you are addressing somebody, like friends, like calling someone names? So you have to use here what? You have to use addressing as. Okay. For example, "Are you hungry, friends?" said the shirt king. Okay. You see, friends. Okay. So that's why this is vocatives. What do you have to use here? So the speaker is used here at the end of the sentence. So you have to use it at the beginning of the sentence. So what will you use? Addressing them as friends. So this addressing, okay, addressing whom? Addressing them, as they were plural, so friends, so addressing them as friends. Okay, and put a comma. Then the speaker, the shirt king, asked, as it is a question, so asked if they were hungry. Okay, so this is how you have to use addressing as. Now if you get the name of the creator, or when you are taking when we are swearing by these names, then what you have to use? Like you have to use swearing by. Swearing by Allah, swearing by Job, swearing by God, swearing by my life, swearing by my book. Okay? Sometimes you use that. So let's see the example. By Allah, he replied, I have done this work. So you have to use what? Swearing by Allah, he replied that he had done that work. In many books you will get this type of answer, but you can do it in different way. Or he swore by Allah that he had done the work, done that work. Okay, so swore by Allah. If you use at the beginning of the sentence, you have to use like this, swearing by Allah. But if you use it in the verb, then make it past. Make it the past form, okay? He swore by Allah that he had done that work. Now, if you get phrase and it is not in inverted comma, okay? So what will you use? You have to use it at the beginning of the sentence, okay? For example, where are you going? Asked the master, looking at the boy. So see, here, this looking at the boy is not in inverted comma, okay? It is in inverted comma. Where are you going? So what do you have to do? You have to use looking at the boy at the very beginning of the sentence. So looking at the boy, comma, the master asked the boy where he was going, okay? So this looking at the boy is a phrase. It will be used at the beginning of the sentence. Now, if you get note of interrogation in assertive sentence, what will you use? Okay, you have to use being surprised. That means the sentence seemed to be assertive sentence, but at the end of the sentence you got note of interrogation. That means the meaning of the sentence is in interrogative, but it looks like assertive. What will you do at that time? Like the example, Saima said to me, you have remembered how she looked all these years. So see, you have, it is not started like have you remembered, not like that way. So it has started like assertive and you got this interrogative sentence. What will you use? You have to use being surprised at the beginning of the sentence, okay? Like being surprised, she asked me. The other changes will be like the changes of interrogative sentence, okay? So for said to, she asked, and if you means me, that means I had remembered, because present perfect tense, had remembered how she had looked, because past indefinite, so past indefinite will be past perfect. All these will be those years. So this is how you have to change. Now look at this passage, okay? Why are you crying? Do you have any problem? Asked the passerby. I'm crying because I have none to look after me, said the street child. Are you hungry? Yes, I am, said the boy. Okay, so here you have to find how many speakers are there. So here two speakers are there. One is passerby and the second one is the boy or the street child. Okay, and when one speaker finishes his speech, and the inverted comma will be closed like this. So these are the speeches from passerby, okay, and these are the speeches of the street child, okay. So what will you do? Why are you crying? So we have to say the passerby asked the street child why he was crying. He also asked if he had any problem, okay. Then the street child replied that he was crying because he had none to look after him, okay. Then the passerby again asked if he means the boy was hungry. Okay, the boy replied that he was hungry. Okay, so this is how you have to make the changes. It's very easy. Just notice on the individual sentences. Firstly, read the passage and try to understand how many speakers are there and which speaker is saying the which lines. Try to identify it, and it's very easy to identify. Just notice the inverted commas and try to know the meaning. If you understand the meaning, it will be easier for you to understand. Okay. Next example. The traveler said, "Can you tell me the way to the nearest inn?" So within inverted comma. Okay. "Yes," said the peasant. "Do you want one in which you can spend the night?" So it is a question again by the peasant. "No," replied the traveler, "I only want a meal." So there is traveler, there is peasant. Traveler asking, peasant replying, peasant asking, traveler replying. Very easy, okay? The traveler asked whom? The traveler asked the peasant if he could tell him the way to the nearest inn. Okay? The traveler asked the peasant if he could tell him to the nearest inn. Okay? The peasant replied that he could. Why could? Because can. In the previous sentence it was can. Can you tell me? Okay? If he could tell him, so that's why he could. Okay? And asked if he wanted, he means the traveler wanted one in which, or you can say where, he could spend the night. The traveler replied or answered that he did not wish to stay there. So for no, he said he did not wish to stay there. Okay? But only wanted a meal. Only wanted a meal. Okay? So here, but you have added. How will you add this? Depending on the meaning. So this is how you have to make the changes for passage narration. Okay? There are other examples. Just go through the examples. Like this one. The teacher said to the students, "Have you heard the name of Aesop?" The students said, "Sir, we haven't." "Who was he?" The teacher said to them, "Listen to my lecture attentively and you will be able to know about him, how interesting and instructive his fables are." Okay, so what will you do? The teacher asked the students if they had heard the name of Aesop, like the interrogative changes. Okay, the students replied respectfully they hadn't. They asked who he had been. Okay, past indefinite, past perfect. The teacher advised them to listen to his lecture attentively and they would be able to know about him. That means about Aesop. Okay? He also added that his fables were very interesting and instructive. Or you can say he also exclaimed with surprise that his fables were very interesting and instructive. Okay, so this is how you have to make the changes. I hope it is very much clear to you. If you make more practices, it will be easier for you to make the changes from direct to indirect or vice versa. So this is another example. I recommend you will go through at your home this. Okay, and there are other two examples. You will do this at your home by yourself as homework. If you have any problem, you can email me or you can message me or you can comment in this below the class or below this video so that I will be able to reply your answer. Okay? Thank you everyone. I wish you all the very best, and you know that you have to make more practice. You have to practice a lot because this practice will make you a perfect student or perfect person. If you practice a lot, then you will be a good learner. You won't be a good learner if you do not practice. You know the rules, but you do not practice. So the rules will not be set in your brain. So I will recommend you strongly to practice as many examples as possible. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoyed this class.